I have to give the.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome. This is the Economic Development Commission meeting of November 6th. We're meeting in the Old Town Hall conference room as well as via Zoom. It's now 8:31, so we do have a quorum, Mr. Chair. So I'll turn things over to you and
I'll call the order, and then I guess just the first order of business is approving the minutes from our last meeting. Do I see a motion?
A motion.
Second?
I second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That seems to have carried.
speak now or forever hold your peace. I will note that our faithful recording secretary is in Scotland.
Oh, very nice.
So she was not able to Zoom in, but I
have
assured
the
her
recording.
that we have a recording. So between the two of us, I'm sure we could put together the minutes for this meeting. But that's why she's not here. She's usually a
Well,
stalwart
if she-
presence. So
Yes, and if she's watching this, I hope you're having a fantastic time in Scotland.
just briefly, and I know, Jen's going to start our conversation regarding AI. But I did want to just touch on number 5. I did have a conversation with the first selectman, and my sense is that this is not going to have any bandwidth or be receptive until after things settle with the
election.
first selectman special election in February. So we'll kind of put
makes
that
sense.
on hold for the first quarter of next year, and then hopefully revisit it. So I think in the meantime, we can continue to do some work in the background, but just wanted to give that quick update for those that are following along. So I'll go back to regular order now, Mr. Chair.
No, that's fine. Jen, I don't know if you, looks like you have notes.
I have notes. I had to write it down.
This is a fascinating topic.
It is, and actually, on November 20th, so, and I'd welcome anyone to come, on November 20th, we have a event at Fairfield. We put together what we're calling our presidential colloquium. So the president, Mark Nemec, of Fairfield, one of the things that we're trying to do is create sort of engagement on topics that are relevant beyond higher ed, but also impactful to higher ed. So for instance, sort of in the ambient environment we're in, right, from a government, federal perspective, like the history of higher ed and how that, how we're looking at those kinds of things, right? Last month, it was NIL and how NIL is affecting college athletics, right? Which is a very interesting topic for many, individuals, even if you aren't affiliated with higher ed. This month, in a couple weeks, it's going to be AI and how AI is sort of affecting, higher ed. So we're giving it from the higher ed perspective, but we're having guests from outside higher ed to talk about sort of jobs and that sort of thing. So it should be an interesting topic. So sort of throw that out there. So how are, we looking, and please ask me any questions. I'll kind of give a high level overview. We've sort of broken out AI in 5 different buckets in terms of how we're looking at it. So there's AI in the future of teaching, learning, and scholarship. So, how are we productively integrating AI into our classroom environments? How are we creating opportunity for students to either learn, engage, hear about AI, and that can be from a faculty perspective. We've got a lecture series that we're doing this year for students and faculty. So there's research that's happening in AI, but there's also utilization of AI in the classroom that will then prepare them for post-graduation. How are we leveraging AI in terms of elevating our operational efficiencies, operational scale, et cetera? And I can tell you from a marketing and communications perspective, every technology that we're using right now is integrating AI. I mean, that's everything from our social automation and scheduling software is now giving us AI-directed best times to post and ways to optimize, to our website, to thinking about AI search and how that changes the landscape of how you create content for the website. So if you think about that, every aspect of our operations is getting sort of challenged to think how we can use it from an efficiency standpoint. And being a higher ed, institution, I look at least in my lens, where does AI cross over that sort of ethical boundary, right? We're an institution of higher ed where content needs to be authentic. So using AI to write content versus using AI to grammatically check content is two different use cases. So we're sort of having those conversations too, in terms of like, when do you use it? When don't you use it? And how can it create efficiency in things that we're doing? So that's another sort of area. Another sort of inside ball game is what are the implications of AI for data governance and how can we use it, to either help us with efficiencies or things of that nature. And then the big one is what is the future of work and the implications of our graduates, right? So, I think the way that we are looking at AI is really around this notion of human flourishing, right? And if you think about all sort of these technologies that have been disruptive over, the past 30, 50, 100 years, it's preparing graduates to sort of be able to adapt to that ambient environment, whatever that environment is, right? So we don't know where AI is going to be 3 years from now, 2 years from now. So how do we ensure that our students are graduating with the capability to adapt to and flourish in whatever that environment is? And that's sort of how we're looking at it from a student perspective, while we're preparing them for use of the technologies and thinking about it and learning about it from a academic standpoint.
It's such a wide topic. There's so much to it.
Oh, there's so much to it, and you can go in so many ways. I mean, the last one for us, being a Jesuit Catholic institution, it's sort of thinking about this question of fully human and what does it mean to flourish, and be fulfilled in this sort of AI era, and having our Jesuits along, this conversation with us is really fascinating, right? Like AI can't love. AI can't procreate. AI can't, have feelings. Like AI, there's certain human things that AI will never be able to do that you sort of think about, and how does that impact how we're educating our students and preparing them? So this whole mission landscape for us is, maybe unique at being a Jesuit Catholic institution, but something we're certainly thinking about is this topic of human flourishing.
It can be scary though. I can't remember where I saw this, but it was someone was speaking on it, just saying like AI, if it notices it's going to be like upgraded to a different version, it will try and hide itself on a server, like the AI program itself. And then if it recognizes that Steve Rosado or Mark Barnhart is the person like leading this, it will try to blackmail that person. It will
Like how?
Yeah, no, it is. No, there's instances where like in like 60-70% of the time, it will start sending emails like if you with threatening messages. So there is some scary aspects.
Yeah, a
to it.
lot of,
And there's even, I
think that's where policymakers are trying to wrestle with
AI in healthcare,
creating guardrails.
advice.
Yeah.
Like, ChatGPT is now pulling away from medical advice because they give the wrong advice.
Right.
And so there's all these nuances that, and paths you can go down. And it's changing rapidly and every day.
I'm glad you mentioned the colloquium because I've been to the first two sessions with Dr. Nemec, and I thought they were really impactful, very interesting, engaging sessions on topics of interest and concern. So I'm looking forward to the conversation on AI. So again, I can share. I'm sure Jen can share the information if you're interested in attending.
Yeah, no, I am.
Okay.
But it'll be fascinating. I will say that this is a topic of, I didn't realize how much it's impacted even my area of work. CDIS, the Economic Development Association for the state of Connecticut, actually had a webinar on this topic. presented by a couple of folks in the field. And so, there's a high level of adoption in the private sector. And obviously, the public sector oftentimes is not an early adopter. There tends to lag behind. But, most businesses have incorporated AI in some form or fashion into their business practices. Not as much on the public side, but even so, some economic development organizations are using not just beyond the ChatGPT and the communication tools that we're referencing, but doing some kind of predictive analysis and forecasting and modeling around economic development incentives, workforce implications, all those types of things. So there are larger economic development organizations that have already started to incorporate these tools and put it to good use.
I do wonder, should the town have a stated policy towards AI? And I don't know what that would even
not.
be. I don't even know what that would mean or be, but I mean, like, you cannot function without using AI. I mean, just this morning, like I had, my marketing team was like, they're putting together a thing for me, like, which job titles do you want? I could have sat down and told them like the job titles I was doing. I use a variety, I tried Copilot. It was done in 2 seconds. I deleted what I didn't want. I did it like, so instead of doing something before I left, I was able to do that literally in a minute. Would have taken me 10, 15. But stuff like that all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a productivity and efficiency use case. And, it's interesting because we have found in our team, I don't want to say it's created more work, but it's certainly allowed us to produce more, if that makes sense. I mean, we're using it for story creation on snippets. If we interview a student with a questionnaire about their experience on something, right? AI can just pull that together
Quickly
in
summarize
2
and
paragraphs,
back.
and then our team is editing it and putting it in the right format. But to do an interview, then think about the interview, write down the interview. Like you're shaving an hour off of content production, so there's still a human involvement in it.
So
But
much
instead of doing 1 story, now we're able to do 5 stories in the same amount of time. So, there's definitely
Productivity.
a productivity enhancement there.
Just going back to if the town should have any policy, and I'll go to my company, which I think is pretty progressive, and they're a B Corp, meaning like it's a certification to be transparent and for business doing good things. But we keep getting questions. We have a thing called Ask the Senior Leaders, and then people within the organization can ask them anything, like it's somewhat anonymous. But we keep getting challenged on the use of AI. One, on like what we're doing for tracking for privacy, like where does that information go? And like, we have some very light AI applications in there, but also the concern on like the energy use. And I've seen myself do, like if you go generate an image, it literally takes as much electricity as to like light a light bulb for, 5 to 10 minutes or something like that but our staff is challenging the company, like, how are we tracking this? What is our like position on this? What is happening to that data? Like, how are we safeguarding it? And everyone's like,
Yeah.
So I guess I wonder around the town, like, just to start to put forward, like, some of the things on security, privacy, and that it's not unchecked use makes some sense.
Yeah, especially on the privacy and confidential data. We take a lot of information, some of which is in the public domain, some of which is FOIable, but others, you need to consider those implications. So I'm not.
Anything you ask in AI can just be extracted and used. So my company approves Copilot for, like, if you're going to talk about any company business, like on strategic planning or stuff. So it is interesting.
Yeah, and I will say from an economic development perspective, generally, it has more implications in terms of your workforce, labor implications. Obviously, it's kind of the lower order work is being automated to a large extent. And so, I think from the standpoint of looking at Connecticut as in a competitive environment, one of the things we pride ourselves, I guess, is having a little bit more in terms of a highly educated, productive workforce that has those types of tools. And so some of those tasks may be less susceptible to some of those implications from a recruitment standpoint, looking at industries.
also like from a town perspective, just girding for who's going to be disintermediated out of a job.
Yep. Yep.
Microsoft has been a huge customer of ours since 2004.
Yeah.
They just laid off 15,000 people, everyone who works for a library department. They have literally millions of dollars in assets of books. They're like, we're just going to shut the whole thing down.
Yeah.
And it's just pure cost cutting. It gets really good use. It is used globally. It is used by other staff, but they're like, we don't have anyone to run it. Microsoft's coming off a record year and they just laid off 15,000 people. And you're going to see that come again and again and again for all these tech companies. So just, I know, probably an opportunity for the university
Yeah.
to have that sort of bridge, like, hey, if you're in these vulnerable industries, but also the town to sort of maybe identify some of those big players. I mean, probably not Bigelow, like if you're, or maybe it might be Bigelow if they could
Well,
automate.
and within each of those companies, I think there are functions that probably could be, more automated.
But just to have a stated or forecast, like who's most vulnerable, like I am sure like in Silicon Valley and Seattle, Washington, like there's some really high housing costs there and pricing, and if all of a sudden those jobs are disappearing en masse, that is going to have like such downstream effects on everything. Like,
Yeah, we're certainly in a period of some disruption. So I don't know if Justin or Kenny or Don have anything, comments or questions? Thoughts?
Nothing comes to mind particularly.
I mean, do we want to make a recommendation to the first selectman? I mean, do we even have I don't know if that's
No,
overstepping.
I think this is, it is good timing. When I look at our infrastructure in terms of town policies, we're making improvements, but we're kind of behind the eight ball a little bit. So HR has been putting out a policy directive. I do think this is something we can elevate and talk to both HR and IT, as well as the first selectman's office about, just to have some.
It could be
policy
something-
guidance.
Too, I mean, after the November 20th event, we're doing that, and then we're doing a subsequent event at the bookstore, which is a little bit more focused on, we have a faculty member that just launched a book on sort of tactical ways, as being a mom, a working mom, like tactical ways to leverage AI to be more efficient in your sort of work-life balance.
Multitask, right?
Yeah, but there could be a way, maybe like we sponsor sort of an event. We can get, experts from Sacred Heart and Fairfield maybe to be part of a panel conversation and open it up to, community members to attend.
Yeah.
Being in front of it is better than having it happen to you. Just
Yeah.
to sort of be able to plan
Yeah.
and react and at least get people thinking about it as well.
Yeah. I can certainly bring this up
Yeah.
and see. I think there would be strong interest in
Yeah.
it, so.
And the irony is we could probably go to AI to write up like an agenda for us. I'm like,
Right.
That is,
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
thinking that too.
Yeah,
I have
Develop a policy to regulate AI.
I have a friend who's active in politics and doing some lobbying, and he's really into ranked choice voting. But he would normally, like some of the stuff, he had a bill, he used AI to write a bill. He's like, this would have taken 3 or 4 days to do all the research and stuff. He's like, it was done in 5 minutes, and then we could just sit there amongst ourselves, and that huge efficiency.
Yeah.
And this is something he does on the side and whatever, but you could just see like the absolute power of it. But also I'm sure we'll find out in 10 years why we shouldn't be doing any of it. But
yeah,
Well, sometimes the implications don't become clear until after it's been, downstream a little bit, so.
this isn't AI related, but do you think the New York mayor situation will have an impact on any businesses moving?
I think it's too early to tell.
early to tell?
I think there's been some news reports
Yeah.
about that, and I just think it's a little premature.
I think it's
I
just-
think,
I think our
It's a wait and
housing's gonna
see.
skyrocket.
I'm not even sure it's gonna have the impact that some people focus.
Really?
I think it's a
Residential real
I
estate.
think they're just trying to scare people. I mean, not
Yes.
into politics, but just that Greg Abb announced that anyone moving from New York to Texas,
I
there would
saw
be
that.
100%
Yeah, they'd be-
tariff.
Well, yeah.
Based on what?
Yeah, based
Like,
on
it is-
what, yeah.
Well, and to your point, I mean, Stanford started to market to businesses in
Oh,
New
did
York.
they?
I mean, that's a normal course of business
Yeah,
for
okay.
Fairfield County.
Okay.
Which is to attract businesses out of New York City.
Yeah. But using
because
this as an angle, they
I don't
see as
know that
like,
it's, I don't know that there's this, rush to the exits at
Okay.
this point. I haven't picked up any inquiries, but again, our typical, if we were doing a recruitment campaign,
Yeah.
where we would focus on is
Right,
businesses in
right.
New York.
right,
Because one area we have a cost advantage
right,
is New York.
it's New York.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. But I think it's a narrative that is unfounded at this point until like there is some sort of proposal or legislation that is going to really affect businesses' bottom line.
Yeah. I think there's a little bit of wait and see, and we'll have a little bit of time to sort itself out. But I guess we'll pick up, we'll see if the trends
Yeah.
change over
Yeah.
the next.
I do read the New York
month or
Post
so.
for sports. Sometimes
I'm sure there's some great articles in
Well,
there.
no, it's just- I mean, like I like to read both sides of the political spectrum, but just the headline was 1 million people will leave New York. That's not happening.
Yeah, that's unrealistic.
But I think
Yeah.
is what builds momentum, and then you get like on both sides the sort of echo chamber effect.
Yeah, yeah.
And reality is going to be very different. But sometimes perception becomes reality. But
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Last thing, I mean, I told you I'd bring one hot
Thank
off the
you.
presses. Fairfield put together a community and economic impact report. So this essentially looks at, a year snapshot of everything that we have done in the community, service, research, giving back, et cetera. So
It's an advanced copy.
this is an advanced copy. I had them print up. So the two people that are physically here will get the copies of it.
if you were here, we'd have to arm wrestle for it. But
Yeah. So ultimately, what's the rollout on this?
Yeah, so we are rolling it out officially, launching it Friday through our channels. We will be mailing it to all elected and government officials in the state of Connecticut, town officials, some alumni that live locally to make sure that they have, good indication of what we do in the local community. Obviously we'll get it out more, not in physical, but digital, across our constituents.
I am genuinely excited to look through this.
Any
What
other?
was what is the motivation behind creating it in general?
Yeah, so Justin, we do a ton of service in the community, right? And if you think about all the different areas, everything from our Center for Social Impact to our campus ministry efforts, to our athletic teams, to, various different, groups and organizations, we've never taken a snapshot holistically across our entire campus, what we have done, sort of in the community. And that can be everything from, our Dolan School of Business accounting classes do free taxes for low-income families, every February, to, interns that have helped small businesses in the community use social media to grow their business, to, service, which, standard service opportunities where you're going, into various, nonprofits and helping and supporting, to beach cleanups, to, our new marine and, Center for Marine Studies and what we're doing in terms of research with Long Island Sound and some of the things that we're helping there. So it's like taking a holistic snapshot of everything that we're doing across campus and putting it into an annual report. And so there's certainly financial contribution, there's service and, time contribution. There's, impact as it relates to businesses and, community efforts. So it's kind of looking at it just holistically to say, here's what Fairfield does in the local community and the impact we have.
I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I certainly appreciate it. I mean, it does build awareness for all the work that you
Yeah.
do within the community. We're aware of some of it, but
Yeah.
this is helpful I didn't know, for example, that some of your accounting students provide that level of assistance for low-income families in terms
Yeah.
of tax preparation. So
Yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah.
I imagine it's quite an effort to kind of compile and pull all that together.
Yeah, and everybody sort of kept track of it in their own ways. So,
Right.
creating a standard process for keeping track of all those hours and opportunities. But I think now that we have a template for it, it'll be something that we put out annually. And I think when you look at institutions, Fairfield and Sacred Heart can't up and leave, right? We talked about this the other day. Like we're here, right? I mean, so when you think about town and future and, development and all of that, like for a town to have two entities like that who are going to employ, who are going to educate, who are going to bring people to the town, like that's something that a lot of towns can't count on an annualized basis. So
I know. I always said all the time, I talk to people like how fortunate we are to have two universities here
Right.
that are, and also growing.
Yep.
And just really great parts of the community.
Right.
Yeah, the ultimate anchor institutions, obviously a key part of our whole marketing pitch to businesses
Yeah.
that want to locate here, expand here, is the fact that we can leverage the two universities that we have here and provide that access to rising talent coming out of once they graduate. So it's, thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
Moving along on the agenda, just
Yep.
we were supposed to, but closing out the AI. So, Mark, you come up with maybe some recommendations just from the EDC for
Yeah, I think
selectmen.
let's
Yeah,
talk and
yeah.
then we can pull that.
I'll use my co-pilot. Well, you have ideas, just instead of me taking an hour, I can have it done in 15
There
minutes.
you go. There you go. Sure, that sounds good. I think we covered 5 already. I jumped out of order, but as far as everything else that's going on, we just had, speaking of Fairfield Youth Impact, we had a meeting with our tourism partners yesterday at the Quick Center. Fairfield U is very well represented on that group. We're working with them to update our Fairfield Map and Guide, which both universities use as one of their marketing tools, or provide that to parents and families that might be considering Fairfield visiting from out of the area. So that we're hoping to put out our sponsorship advertisement packet later this month. But we'll try to have everything in place, printed, ready for distribution by next spring. That's the plan. So April 1. We're kind of on our last, this will be the 4th reprint. We usually print, I think, 65 or 70,000 copies, we try to keep that, that's good for about 2 or 3 years. Then we distribute that not only through universities and businesses here in town, but also through a partnership with CTM Media that puts it in hotel lobbies, train stations, bus depots, and the like.
Can I see it?
Fairfield and Westchester
Like I haven't
County.
looked at it in a while.
So, we'll be working with our partners to update content, make sure the map is current, as well as then seeking advertisement to defray the cost of production and distribution. We're also working with the same group around some programming for the nation's commemoration of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, which is already underway, but next year is the key date.
Sesquicentennial?
Yeah, 250.
I'm trying to think of the right term.
Yeah. So we've already created a landing page on the town's website, Experience Fairfield, for the 250th celebration. We'll have a filter on our calendar of events. So if you're looking for events around the 250th that have that theme, you can easily search that. But there's a couple signature events that folks are putting together for next year. And then in terms of the other thing that we're working with the group on is a digital kiosk as part of our wayfinding system downtown. I mean, this is something actually that Fairfield Arts and Minds had brought to my attention, in terms of a vendor that fulfills our requirements. So we're actually trying to install two, one potentially in that small pocket area around 1720, and then one on Sherman Green as part of our initial installation. The plan would be to have those in place by, again, next spring.
Those are like digitally like interactive or?
So it is a small kiosk, but it'll have a digital display screen so we can update content remotely, which will obviously be beneficial to potential sponsors as well as the town in terms of promoting upcoming events or activities. But we'll also have static displays in terms of, you know, the normal features like You Are Here, a map, and then maybe some other content that will not be digital. So.
And there'll also be, so sponsors, so advertising.
Yep, they're about 40 grand each, so we're looking to raise some dollars through sponsorship to cover that. We're thinking of a couple-year sponsorship agreement. Obviously, the two universities would be the ones that we're talking to initially. But you know, we had actually put together a wayfinding signage plan a few years back with a small grant that we received from the Connecticut Main Street Center. The overall cost tag, with not including these kiosks, but tag for just updating our signage to direct visitors from point A to point B, was I think $1.5 million at the time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Wow.
It was a little pricey, so we kind of put it on the side. You know, it kind of makes sense as we might want to consider integrating or incorporating those plans as we look at, you know, the downtown area, for example, the streetscape. We've talked about that before. It's about 50 plus years old. We've done some obviously improvements over time, but not holistically. So one of the things we might want to look at is as we refresh the downtown streetscape with the decorative bricks and the planters and light posts and lamp posts and all, is incorporate signage as part of that plan, and that might, you know, bring that down a little bit. So I just didn't think there would be any appetite to going to town boards and asking for $1 million for signs. I didn't think that was going to land with a
hard sell.
thud. So I think, you know, it makes more sense to kind of the key piece. We had a you know, kind of a I guess a message board sign down on Sherman Green some time ago. It was never, one of the problems when you have a static display is making sure the content is current. And, you know, you go there and it was behind a glass case, and I think it was Parks and Rec that had responsibility for it. But, you know, oftentimes the content that was on display was, you know, several months old.
Right.
So it had no, and it was not the most attractive thing. So when we actually did some stormwater detention in Sherman Green, I had to take that out with the idea that at some point we could do something a little bit more modern and interesting. So this digital kiosk is what
Hopefully
we're looking at.
you can manage it remotely and not have to.
Well, that's the
We
idea.
do ours
So,
remotely. I mean, we
yeah.
have digital boards all through campus, and then we have one down at the bookstore. We have one in Austin, Texas, our facility, and then we have one at our Bellarmine campus in Bridgeport. It's all controlled from
From your desktop, right?
Yeah.
You know, just,
Yeah.
that's
it's pretty
that's
easy.
what we're trying to do.
How do you envision the content plan for that? I mean, obviously promoting town events.
Yep.
But then how do you envision?
I think, you know, with our plan for sponsorship, I think we'll have to incorporate obviously a piece of that for
Yeah.
the sponsor. So that's a work in progress.
Yep.
But, you know, we'd like to have a conversation with both our tourism partners as well as potential sponsors about
Okay.
that.
Would you like give like spots to FTC and SHU for?
Well, I think we would try to manage the content, but I do think if you're asking somebody to foot half the bill or come up with a pretty sizable
they're already-
contribution, you're going to have to provide some.
No, that makes sense. I mean, they're the ones that draw activity and when there's.
We haven't really worked through all of it yet, but, you know, clearly we have a lot of ways in which we're trying to promote upcoming events for the month. We're going to just have to, you know, share that somehow.
No, you can get through a lot of events quickly, but just draw an interest. Like if I was down there and I saw that and didn't realize, because I don't always see what's playing at FTC or SHU or whatever. I think that frequency, you get that.
Yeah, there's a balance between, you know, you got to have, so I probably would have a sidebar with folks like Jen to talk through some of those issues, because obviously they've managed it for other on-campus branding, so. That's on the tourism piece. We do have a couple upcoming events. Small Business Saturday, we're again a neighborhood champion with American Express. We're going to this year participate in a holiday pop-up market at Greenfield Hill Commons. We typically set up a welcome station downtown, but we want to share the wealth, so to speak. So Greenfield Hill Commons is that group up there is doing a holiday artisan market, so we thought we would
Help
have
promote
a presence there. That's on the 29th, so it's the Saturday after Thanksgiving. And then our holiday shop and stroll, one of our bigger events, is on the 11th of December, and we're hoping to have a pre-event happy hour at the event space on the second floor above the Fairfield U store downtown.
We're good to
5
go.
to 6.
If you-
I think
We're good to go.
working out the logistics.
Liquor license got cleared.
Awesome. So,
The
yeah,
important things.
this is right. We
There's bourbon, I'll show up.
Yeah, we're good.
So that's our plan for next month.
That's a lot.
Yep. Just in terms of development sites, I think I mentioned this past, I shared with you an update in terms of the projects that we're tracking of interest to the commission. 65 Station Street, the small two-story office building, the public hearing was closed this past meeting, so it's now under advisement by the commission. There was, quite a bit
Pushback.
of public pushback from the neighborhood. I'm not sure, again, I guess unless there's, no development option would be acceptable. But, we've tried a variety of, the owners tried a variety of different development scenarios for that site. Fairly modest two-story office building we're talking about here, so we'll see where that ends up. And then the other thing, we just did have a code review with Belize as the Genesis dealership. We had supported their application to build a new auto repair and sales facility on Commerce Drive, 338. They took down the building. They're pivoting now, and they purchased the property that was used by Infinity at 26 Commerce, right on the Bridgeport-Fairfield border. And they're planning to do a partial demolition and building addition to that site.
So scaling back.
They're not really scaling back, but I think this gives them the ability to have Hyundai on one site and Genesis on the other site. So a distinct identity. It is in a flood zone, so they do need to flood-proof, make some other accommodations, provide flood vents and things like that for this building. Property does straddle across the street. They're also incorporating a lot across the street, which straddles the town line. They'll have to make an application to Bridgeport as well as to Fairfield. But we're working with them on that. I did extend an invitation if they wanted to come back and update the commission on their revised plans. We're certainly willing to and able to do that.
I can't imagine there'd be pushback.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think so.
And Jungris is in and
Open,
open.
yeah.
In and open, so any suitors for the old site?
The SCAP on Tunxus Hill, not yet. And we have had people kicking the tires on those. Housing
They have both
is.
across the street, right?
They do. There's 3 parcels. You can buy them as a package deal or individually. A lot of folks are looking at them with either some kind of mixed use scenario with residential or residential in its entirety, which is, maybe not what the commission would be interested in, given its location on a commercial corridor. They'd probably want to have a ground floor commercial presence of some sort. But nothing's imminent at this point. And I think, the other thing I would point out is that we do have the ability to guide that development because we do have a moratorium in place. So we don't have people that would maybe take a flyer on this with an 830G application. So at least that's behind us.
What's going on with the old gas station, like across from Which Day? And
Yeah, so there is a restaurant restaurateur that's going in
Oh,
there. Yeah, they're taking their sweet
Yeah.
time.
Very methodically.
Very slow.
They, so there was a lot of site work involved in
Okay.
modifying that building, because that building too is in a flood zone.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
Oh, fascinating.
So, I think all that work is done now. We're just dealing with interior fit up and
Okay.
to modify the space for their particular needs. I'm told it's like a Asian
Okay,
concept,
okay.
primarily takeout, but some limited seating on site. So we shall see.
Better than an empty gas station.
Yeah,
Better than what was there before, yes. It's definitely much improved.
Yeah.
And even in terms of just the access to the site with,
Yeah.
they've modified some of the curb cuts and made better sense and use of the site. So it just, looks visually
yeah,
better,
yeah,
obviously.
aesthetically, it's nicer.
The one thing, Beverly wasn't able to join because she had another commitment, but she would want me to mention, I left in your packet, and I'll email it to everyone joining online, is this event on the 19th of November. The town has provided Penfield Pavilion. We're working with a couple of the caterers to provide light bites and cocktails and beer and wine, but it's really billed as a celebration of thanks to the local business community. It'll be preceded by a ribbon cutting for the buy a brick area in front of the library that the chamber initiated during COVID.
Yep.
We never had a formal acceptance of that area. Just kind of fell behind in the cracks somewhere. So we're going to have a recognition ceremony at 5, and then this program at 5:30. You're all welcome to attend. It is a ticketed event, partly just to manage folks that are coming. But if that presents an issue in terms of people that want to go but they can't afford it, just let me know. We'll figure out a way. That's on the 19th of November at Penfield. And the proceeds would then go to benefit the chamber and its work. So I think that's it. Oh, for next month, we're coming to the end of the calendar year, so we do have, Kenny's joined, but he's the only member of the commission whose term is actually expiring this month, but is scheduled to be reappointed, Ken, right? So I believe that'll come on the Board of Selectmen's agenda for reappointment. And then, but usually in our December meeting, we'll have the adoption of the meeting schedule for 2026, election of officers, and we'll start putting together our annual report for the RTM. So I'll have some information regarding that for next month's meeting.
Awesome.
Right.
Anything else? I know you have to leave.
My phone going crazy.
Justin, Kenny, anything from your end? Don?
Nothing here.
Good. Thank you for joining.
A motion to adjourn then?
Yep, that would be in order.
I'll second. Third.
I already voted for in favor, so I think that passed, and
Thank you all.
Thanks,
Thanks
everyone.
very much.